Hey everyone, look at this. This is an old Tachi sword, or a replica of one, that they used to use hundreds and hundreds of years ago in Japan. Let us take a close look at the Tachi and compare it to the katana and see how it's built different and might have been used differently in the period of Japanese history. Join me. I so appreciate you all taking the time with me to look at these beautiful things. Here is a Tachi sword which came in this bag. Let me put the bag down so that we can lay the sword on it. Isn't this a beautiful replica? Now, from my knowledge, this sword was made around the year 2010-2011. Well, an original Tachi like this was a Japanese sword called a Nihonto. Although technically a Nihonto is made in Japan, hence the name Nihonto. But this sword was made in China, in Langquan area, which is a very famous sword area in China that makes a lot of beautiful swords. They have a lot of forges there. A lot of really talented swordsmiths live there. So this particular sword, both of these were worn by the feudal class of the samurai. The Tachi were earlier versions of the katana. This came later. This was much, much earlier. This was used in the entire Koto period. The Koto period was between 900 and 1596. That's a lot of time. And the word katana didn't even come until after the Kamakura period. So you didn't even hear about the name of this sword till about 1300, somewhere around there. This is far older, comes from the Chokuto straight blade, but this was more for cavalry warfare, heavy battlefield warfare. This was more for late armor and more Edo period where they didn't wear armor anymore. It needed to be lighter, shorter often, much less furniture on it, much more simple. This one is a highly decorated sword here. Unlike the traditional manner of the katana, this sword would have been worn with the blade facing down. So that's often how you know what period of history you're in, is how they wore the weapon. This would have been tied on the obi belt here. You can see these leather, beautiful straps, and this is probably the sageo, so this would untie and tie to your belt. It will go through these loops and wrap around your obi in order to hang horizontally at your side. Now, why would they hang this sword at their side? Well, if you were riding a horse, it could freely move, and because the blade is down, it has a large curve, it could be easily drawn up and around the horse's neck, head, and mane so that you wouldn't hit the horse. Because of the extreme sword curve of this, these swords were often far more curved than that, although I've seen both where some were straighter. This was designed by horseback to easily ride by and slash people with pretty minimal movement. Because it has such a curve on it, you didn't need to circle your sword like you did in many of the styles of the later period. With this one, the curve would do the work for you, so it's just a straight slash as you ride by the unfortunate warriors below your horse. As you can tell by the elaborate furniture on this, the koshirai, this had a lot more stuff on it. It was much more kind of filled with regalia for the military warrior, and I'm guaranteeing that the higher level of samurai probably had even more and more stuff in his sword, more colorful things, different types of wrapping and super guards and things like that. I'm not going to take this sword apart, but another way to tell the difference between the two styles of sword is the nakago, the tang, on these often was longer and double pegged, whereas the katana was often single pegged with one makugi pin. And the signature, called the mei, was always on the omote side, meaning the signature on the tang here was facing out. So if this was worn with the blade down, the mei would be on the omote side. On the katana, it was on the opposite side. Again, on the omote outward facing side from the hip, the signature was always facing out. This particular tachi has a length of 108 centimeters or 42.5 inches. The length of this blade is 72 centimeters or 28.3 inches long. The ska handle is about 28 centimeters or about 11 inches long. This has a fairly pronounced sori, which is the curve of the blade, although I've seen way more curved blades on this. And again, that was designed for horseback fighting and easy slashing. The width of the blade is about 1.2 inches and the thickness is 0.28 inches. This beautiful blade here is made of a T10 carbon steel. It's really well done. It is fully polished. It has a blade hardness on the scale HRC of about 60. This blade is hand forged. It is hand polished. It has about 13 different procedures to polish this. It has a beautiful mirror finish. As you can see by the hamon line, it is hand clay hardened and water quenched. The blade style is typical. It's a shinogi zukuri blade shape. The tang is full. It goes all the way down here. It's double pegged. Take a look at that beautiful hamon line, all done by hand with clay. It is a beautiful blade, free of blemishes. I know I'm touching it. Don't worry, I'll clean it. Kasaki is beautiful, typical, but very nasty looking. Look at that detail. Everything is beautiful on this blade. The ska handle has a hardwood core, and it has these hineri twisting cross maki here, which is very typical of the sword of this style. The ska ito is a black synthetic silk. The samegawa under here is genuine ray skin. I don't see any large nodules on this one. A lot of the tachi that I see have these made of metal and not wood because they see such tremendous amounts of battle and things. You wouldn't want wood here. It would just break and chip. So a lot of these that I've seen have the metal covering the whole area of the koiguchi here. This is a special type of tachi saya. As you can see, it has a lot of extra decoration on it and these functional ashi here, which are the holders. This, I guess, is made, from what I'm told, of a reddish brown rosewood, this scabbard. And everything here is made of brass and leather. Beautiful quality here. So another wrap here to reinforce the scabbard from breaking. And then down here at the end you can see these decorations. This is very typical of the tachi sword. Has some flowering on here made of brass. Really well done, nicely detailed. The habaki here has kind of this leopard pattern. This is all made of good quality brass. The seppa spacers are also made of brass here. A beautifully detailed tsuba guard here, as you can see by this angle. Nice craftsmanship throughout this sword. Often the manuki here, which is very highly decorative, covered up the makugi peg. As you can see, both of these would have to be removed before you took the pegs out to disassemble this sword. Let's take one more pass at this beautiful tachi. Really beautiful hamon. Just a high quality sword. As with everything I've said, you get what you pay for. This is not a cheap quality sword. Anytime I add a high quality blade to my collection, it's a good day. Just a beautiful, beautiful piece of history. Now at our school here, I teach 3 to 4 different types of swordsmanship depending on the students and the weaponry we're going to use. You have to always ask yourself, what period of history do you want to do swordsmanship in? This, I can teach the Kukishin Happabiken because this is an old style sword. This was meant to fight in armor or by horseback, cavalry, old period. The way this is designed, this tachi, is very curved, used very differently, and often with just one hand from horseback. With the katana, there would have been more bato, more iaido. With this thing, it would have been pre-drawn before your battle. You know, just take it out and ride away. You probably didn't have too many one-on-one types of battles with this type of tachi here. Now, often the tachi are actually lighter than the katana. However, in this case, this sword is heavier. It's a heavier blade. It's just built better. It has way more furniture stuck to it, whereas this katana is much more simple. But I have had tachi that were lighter but longer in blade length. This is how it would sit on your obi belt, heavy or not, and you'd be on your horse and be bouncing around, and then the blade is down on the tachi, remember? You would draw it out, allow the swordy curve to do its work, take this out one-handed, hold on to the reins, and slash your way to victory. I love comparing the tachi with the katana because it really shows you the periods of history that we're working in. I would argue that although this has much more furniture, it's more highly detailed, I find the katana more beautiful in its simplicity. But I admire this because these were the days of high war, big time battles. You would want everything stronger, much more metal, much more heavy duty, just a nice fighting weapon. So which one do you prefer? Do you prefer the old tachi with all of its beautiful decoration to carry around on your horse, hang on your wall? Or would you rather have the simple katana that has very little furniture? As with all things in art and everything in life, is very subjective. And as you can see behind me and all over these walls, I'm not fussy. I love them all. So here we have this beautiful replica from the Koto and the Kamakura period. This beautiful old-style Tachi Samurai sword. I would not use this in training because it's razor sharp. This is something that you lock away in a safe, perhaps hang on the mantle, but I'm not going to use this with myself or my students for liability reasons because this will cut you as soon as look at you. I thank you guys for watching and spending a little time with me looking at this Tachi. Make sure you subscribe for a bunch more free videos on weapons like this. Enjoy your day or evening wherever you live, and happy training to you. Bye-bye.